The nonpartisan Wisconsin Legislative Audit Bureau has released its fiscal year 2025 single audit of the state of Wisconsin. This audit was published as report number 26-03 in March 2026. The following is the report summary. As a condition of receiving federal funds, state agencies must meet the audit requirements of the Federal Office of Management and Budget, uniform administrative requirements, cost principles, and audit requirements for federal awards, also known as uniform guidance, and the Single Audit Act of 1984 as amended. The Single Audit Act requires there to be one comprehensive audit of federal programs. Report 26-03 focused on 21 federal programs that accounted for 61.0% of the federal financial assistance administered by state agencies in fiscal year 2025. The single audit also incorporates our annual audit of the state's fiscal year 2025 financial statements, Report 25-33. These financial statements were included in the state's annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR, issued in December 2025 by the Wisconsin Department of Administration, or DOA. We provided an unmodified opinion on federal compliance for 19 of the programs we reviewed. However, we qualified our opinion on compliance for certain requirements for the other 2 programs we reviewed. An auditor provides a qualified opinion on compliance when the compliance concerns are material in relation to a specific compliance area for a federal program or cluster. State agencies administered $18.2 billion in federal financial assistance during fiscal year 2025. The federal financial assistance administered by state agencies during fiscal year 2025 included $16.5 billion in cash assistance, $1.6 billion in non-cash assistance, and $36.6 million in outstanding loan balances. 7 agencies administered 94.9% of the federal expenditures during fiscal year 2025. The Department of Health Services, or DHS, administered $10.6 billion. The University of Wisconsin, or UW system, administered $1.9 billion. The Department of Public Instruction, or DPI, administered $1.5 billion. The Department of Transportation, or DOT, administered $1.1 billion. The Department of Children and Families, or DCF, administered $0.9 billion. The Department of Workforce Development, or DWD, administered $0.6 billion, and DOA administered $0.4 billion. Other agencies administered a total of $1.2 billion. During fiscal year 2025, state agencies reported $1.2 billion in federal expenditures related to the public health emergency. The state was required to separately identify the federal funding it expended as a result of the public health emergency, including funding provided under the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. In its Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards, or CFA, the state reported that it spent $1.2 billion through federal programs or clusters for purposes related to the public health emergency during fiscal year 2025. The largest portion of these expenditures was $502 million related to the Education Stabilization Fund. These federal expenditures also included spending of $462.4 million through the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, or CSLIFR program, $42.4 million through the Disaster Grants Public Assistance Presidentially Declared Disasters program, $30.6 million through the Epidemiology and Laboratory Capacity for Infectious Diseases, or ELC program, $26.1 million through the Coronavirus Capital Projects Fund, and $11 million through the Immunization Cooperative Agreements program. These 6 largest programs do not include expenditures under an additional 44 programs or clusters as reported in the CFA. We qualified our opinion on compliance related to certain requirements for 2 federal programs. An auditor provides a qualified opinion on compliance when the compliance concerns are material in relation to a specific compliance area tested for a federal program or cluster. We qualified our opinion on compliance related to certain compliance requirements for 2 federal programs, including the Dairy Business Innovation Initiatives program administered by the UW-Madison and the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program administered by DOT. UW-Madison administered the Dairy Business Innovation and Initiatives Program, for which it contracted with a subrecipient to administer the program. The subrecipient worked with UW-Madison to provide grants to farmers or dairy processors to diversify farming activities, create products, and enhance dairy exports. Federal regulations require UW-Madison to ensure procedures are in place to monitor advance of federal funding to its subrecipients to limit the time between the expenditure of funding and the drawdown of federal funds. During our fiscal 2024 audit in Report 25-04, we found that UW-Madison did not follow all federal regulations when advancing funds to its subrecipient. And we recommended that UW-Madison ensure disbursements to the subrecipient complied with all federal cash management requirements. We also qualified our opinion on compliance with the cash management compliance requirement. During our fiscal 2025 audit, we again found that UW-Madison made advance payments to its subrecipient that did not ensure the time between the subrecipient receiving the funds and the subrecipient dispersing funds was appropriately minimized. Therefore, we again qualified our opinion on compliance for this program, and we made recommendations to UW-Madison to implement improvements and address the non-compliance concerns. As part of administering the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program, DOT is required to comply with certain financial reporting requirements. We qualified our opinion on compliance for this program because DOT did not complete financial reporting requirements for the program. We made recommendations to DOT to implement controls and address the non-compliance concerns. We made 48 recommendations to state agencies and questioned $2.6 million in expenditures charged to federal programs. Our 48 recommendations related to 20 findings, including 5 findings related to internal control deficiencies we identified in our audit of the state's ACFR in Report 25-33. We consider 3 of these findings to be material weaknesses and 17 to be significant deficiencies. A material weakness is a deficiency or combination of deficiencies in internal control over compliance or financial reporting, such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement or material noncompliance will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. A significant deficiency is a deficiency or combination of deficiencies in internal control over compliance or financial reporting that is less severe than a material weakness in internal control, yet important enough to merit attention by those charged with governance. At the Department of Health Services, we reported 7 significant deficiencies for a total of 7 findings for which we made 15 recommendations. At the Department of Transportation, we reported 2 material weaknesses and 3 significant deficiencies for a total of 5 findings for which we made 13 recommendations. At the Department of Administration, we reported 4 significant deficiencies for a total of 4 findings for which we made 11 recommendations. At the University of Wisconsin System, we reported 1 material weakness and 2 significant deficiencies for a total of 3 findings for which we made 8 recommendations. For the Department of Public Instruction, we reported 1 significant deficiency for 1 finding, for which we made 1 recommendation. We also identified $2.6 million of question costs that DHS charged inappropriately to federal funds, as well as an undetermined amount. These question costs relate to the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. Finally, we followed up on the progress of state agencies to address recommendations we made in our fiscal year 2024 single audit report, which was Report 25-04. 8 findings we report for fiscal year 2025 were repeat findings from fiscal year 2024 or prior years, including findings related to cash management for the Dairy Business Innovation Initiatives Program, eligibility for CHIP, and CFA reporting at UW System Administration. Such repeat findings indicate state agencies did not take sufficient and appropriate action on our prior recommendations during fiscal year 2025. The federal government will work with state agencies to resolve the new and continuing concerns we identified. We identify an item for future consideration. On July 7, 2025, UW System implemented a new enterprise resource planning system. With the implementation of the new system, significant changes will be necessary for UW System administration to complete financial reporting, meet federal regulations in administering grant programs, and compile the UW System CFA for fiscal year 2026. Because UW System is part of the state's financial reporting entity, it must meet timelines established by DOA related to the compilation and preparation of the state's fiscal year 2026 ACFR and CFA. UW System Administration will need to work more closely with DOA during fiscal year 2026 to ensure it does not delay DOA's financial reporting for the state of Wisconsin in December 2026, or the issuance of the fiscal year 2026 single audit, which is required to be submitted to the federal government by March 2027. To view this and other publications from the Nonpartisan Wisconsin Legislative Audit Bureau, please visit our website at www.legis.wisconsin.gov/lab. To report fraud, waste, and mismanagement in state government, please contact our hotline at 1-877-FRAUD-17.